29 points through three quarters. Nets trailed by 2 entering the fourth. We're now tied at 97. This thing was good until the end. Landry Shamet's pass, picked by Kawhi, finished with a team-high 33 points. Under 6 to go. Nets down 3. That is how you use a screen to tie it at 102. Nets now leading by 2. Irving pushes it up the floor, hits a 3 over Nicholas Batum. Never had a chance. Season-high 39 for Kyrie. Next possession, Harden over Batum. He is just getting abused. And then Durant's like, wait, Kyrie got some, Harden
I want some.
I get some as well. Durant, 28 points. Nets 5 of 5 with Batum as the primary defender in the fourth. Clippers down 7. They got about to come back. Here comes Marcus Morris. Bucket and the foul. Now a 4-point game. 26 seconds left. Paul George knocks it down. Clippers cut it to 1. After 2 Nets free throws. Clippers down 3. 9.8 to go. Kawhi's going to try to push, but Steve Nash has Durant foul him to shoot free throws instead. So after the 2 free throws, Harden inbounding from under the hoop, throws a full court pass to a wide open Jeff Green, makes a layup plus the foul. That would do it. Harden, 23 points, 14 assists, 11 rebounds. Harden's 4th triple-double since joining the Nets. They win 124-120, and Kyrie loves where they're headed.
As we continue to progress, I think that the beautiful thing is that we're interchangeable. So some guys, one of us can have a big night. Other guys can have multiple assists, multiple rebounds. And like I said, we just want to complement each other well as a group.
I know the roster I know we have on this team, and scoring isn't everything, so I try to impact the game in other ways. I try to get my shooters involved. It's not about points for me. It's not about stats for me. It's about getting a win. And I think since I've been here, I've tried to do whatever it takes in order for us to have a win, and that's all that matters.
It's getting frightening to think that the NBA should be on notice with how the Nets are playing recently. We want to welcome in our NBA analyst, Chiney. Chiney, the Nets' big three, averaging over 80 points a game together. That's the most by a trio since 76 and 77. I want you to show us what they're doing to make them so challenging to stop.
Speaking of frightening, Matt, the Brooklyn Nets are a nightmare to defend because they have 3 elite scorers that can create offense from anywhere on the floor, which means they're almost impossible to double team. So all you need is floor spacing. Now look at this third quarter sequence with all players starting outside of the 3-point line to get Kevin Durant an ISO look. Too far of a distance on the shot to close out based on the floor spacing. KD is near automatic in the mid-range. Now, next play down, same spacing. Nightmare pick and roll with KD and Kyrie. Kyrie was in his bag, 39 points. Bizarre handles to the step back 3. I mean, good luck, or as Coach Tar, my Stanford coach, would say, prayer defense, pray he misses. Now, a couple plays after, Clippers try to do something a little different. They send a little bit more help. Now you're scrambling after this. Advantage James Harden, who is a savant at manipulating the defense to get to his 3-point shot or get all the way to the rim for the and one Sun foul. A little bit of floor spacing can go a long way. That's what the Nets did to a Clippers defense that has 2 all-defensive players, including a defensive player of the year. And this is why the Nets have the #1 offensive rating since the trade. So it is what I like to say, social distance offense, like the experts say, and it totally works.
Well done on that. And to drive home your point, the Nets are averaging 127 points per game since Harden's debut, the most in a 10-game span in franchise history. Never a nightmare, always a dream. Chiney Ogwumike, thank you.
Thank you.
Put up 20 plus. Kyrie putting on a show. He put up 39. Stephen A., I'll ask you this. This version of the Brooklyn Nets, who we saw last night, can they win the chip this year, even with their lack of defense?
Yes, they can. If you're using last night as the litmus test, the kind of offensive show that Harden, Durant, and Kyrie put on. If they played like that, and I'm not saying they would against the Lakers, because that's my question mark. But if they played like that, nobody can beat them. Nobody can beat them if they can play offense like that, because I think their defense just going to get better with familiarity. Not much better, but I think it'll get a little better in the second half. They play some good defense. And I saw Kawhi, Max, trying to push Harden down. We forget how strong James Harden is. couldn't push him and back him down in the fourth quarter the way Kawhi tried to. And Kawhi is obviously a pretty strong guy. I just think that Kyrie is an absolute showstopper. He's box office. Kevin Durant, to me, let me tell you something. He's a superstar. He's a top 2 player on the planet. I think number 1 when he gets completely healthy and he's playing more defense. I think he's number 1. And James Harden, the unselfishness. He's reminding us he was a point guard in OKC. He will distribute the basketball. He's not selfish. He will give you the ball. Those things taken into consideration, I got to tell you something. I don't think anybody can stop the Nets offensively. I really, really don't.
Nets cannot beat the Lakers in a best-of-7 as currently constructed, as presently constituted. And last night's game included, Stephen A., even if we're only looking at that game. Now, if you want to say, could the Nets win a tournament? Yeah. If it was one and done, Nets could beat anyone on any given night. You can say that about a lot of NBA teams, but especially the Nets, because they're already, they're going to be the best offensive team of all time. They're going, and since the Harden trade, that's statistically what they already are. They haven't even figured it out yet. And Kevin Durant, what's impressed me the most, coming off an Achilles, is he chose Brooklyn. Okay, I'm not going to join a 73-win super team. I hear the criticism. I'm going to forge my own path. He chose Brooklyn and was going to build the team around him. And just like that, they're a powerhouse. And off an Achilles, this man is not only playing great, amazingly efficient offensive basketball, all-time great, but he is choosing to guard the best perimeter player on the other team every single night. So my hat's off to him. And Kyrie, you mentioned, I say Kyrie's the best show in the NBA. And I totally agree, and you know I've said this for a long time. My beef with Harden is he doesn't hit clutch shots in the playoffs. He is an unselfish player. He's always done what his team has needed him to do. If it's take 1,000,000 shots, he'll do that. If it's do what he's doing now, he'll do that. Be more of a playmaker and help his teammates, he'll do that. So they're outstanding offensively. They will not be able to beat the Lakers in a best-of-7 with this defensive unit. They just won't be able to do it. I don't see a way. They can score. They'll be the greatest scoring team of all time. They can't stop a nosebleed, and the Lakers can score.
Let me tell you something. The Lakers can score. The Lakers should be the favorites. We both have them as the favorites. Let's not get it confused. But what the Brooklyn Nets will force you to do is make shots, because the Lakers can clamp down on everybody else. Max, can you really see them clamping down on Brooklyn? No, you're going to have to outscore them, which means you're going to have to make sure you make shots. See, that's the difference here. And I think that they can make things tight. That's why I don't think anybody in the East is going to be able to beat them. I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and others, and obviously Schrader and others, they're going to be called upon to step up and make shots against Brooklyn, because Brooklyn is going to make their share of shots. And in terms of Kevin Durant, this has an opportunity, as you pointed out, in fairness to you, Max, to be the greatest year of Kevin Durant's career. Because with Steve Nash being a coach, Steve Nash being a coach, he's a rookie coach. He's never coached on any level. Mike D'Antoni, we know that he don't care about defense. If you sit up there and you understand that that's the climate you created, you hone in Kyrie Irving. James Harden is playing alongside you. Kyrie Irving is being selfless. James Harden, obviously, is being that point guard and incredibly selfless. It all comes under the umbrella of Kevin Durant's leadership. Everything is on him. And if this team ends up winning the chip, he will deserve about as much credit as LeBron has earned when he got at Cleveland to the championship. You know, and the Lakers, obviously, to a lesser degree. That's what Kevin Durant is doing here. He's got a chance.
He has a chance to prove his greatness in a way he's never done before, and to elevate himself so that when people talk about the greatest of all time, and LeBron's always mentioned nowadays ahead of Kobe and Magic and Bird, KD is mentioned along with those guys by everybody. He has a chance to do that. I'll caution one thing. I mentioned it earlier in the show. That was a Clippers team who had played 5 games in 7 nights. It is true that they have so many guys who can score on the Nets at such an elite level, never mind Joe Harris, that when you have, it doesn't get any better defensively on the wings than Kawhi and Paul George. And when those guys are paying attention to KD and James Harden, who's on Kyrie? So they can score with anyone, but they just barely beat